Good morning. Happy Sunday. Geez, they come around quick. I don't know about you, but life seems to be flying by right now. Um, Today, let's talk about inflammation because it's kind of one of the things we have firm control over. And if you have lipedema, if you have thyroid disease, and you are here, inflammation is key for these two things, right? They're both inflammatory diseases. They both cause inflammation, and they are made worse by inflammation, and they cause inflammation. So it's kind of this never-ending cycle, right? So inflammation needs to be something that we consistently look at. How do we know we're inflamed? We see things in our body that weren't there the day before, and then they go away again. Generally, that's caused by things we're eating, because we'll eat them once or twice and then we don't eat them again, and we'll go, why is that inflamed? Why is that red? Why is that, all the things? And it's generally something we've eaten or put on our body. Now, concentrating on food is kind of our easy marker. I say easy, it's not easy. It's simple, but not easy. But there are things that we control here. So with lipedema, you may not be able to afford compressions. You may not be able to afford surgeries, that kind of thing. But we can markedly reduce what is going into our mouth. Again, not easy. I get it. So I wanted to talk today about food and inflammation and what we can do. And I kind of always go by the rule of good, better, best. So good, better, best is, what are we doing currently? What can we do that's good? What can we do that's better? And what's the best? I don't have this theory that we should be jumping straight to the best version of ourselves or food that we can possibly purchase or buy, because that's also, it's just such a big jump in our minds. So I always kind of go with, what's one thing better that I can do today that I wasn't doing yesterday? What's the one change that I can make and gradually get better at something? So a good example of this is, I am currently filming a 30-day challenge for a video on a particular exercise that's supposed to be really good for venous return and inflammation and lipedema and that kind of thing. And the first day, I could barely do any. But as days went by, I just increased slightly. So it's the same with food. Where are you at today? What can you cut out that is just an easy thing to cut out of your body? So I've written a list. And I saw this online and I thought this was really good. Food can either be a fire starter, so inflammation starter, or it can be a fire extinguisher, an inflammation reducer, anti-inflammatory. I thought, that's such a good way of looking at it, right? Fire starter, fire extinguisher. What are you putting into your mouth? And inflammation is our body's alarm system. As I said, you might suddenly one day come up with something that's, you'll get a rash, or your teeth hurt, or, something is not quite right. But rather than, what we tend to do is just kind of ignore it and go, what's that about? Instead of going, that's inflammation. What am I consuming? What am I putting on my skin? That's your body's alarm system. That's your body going, I didn't like something. And it's up to you to kind of figure out what it's telling you as to what it doesn't like, so that you don't do it again. And this is about being more in tune with ourselves, which is tricky, and not many people like doing it, but that's okay. It's a consistent effort. I find over time I have become good at it. I wasn't good at it in the beginning, but I needed to keep going. I needed to just keep following the path of what was causing me to have grief and what was not. And that might change as time goes by. That might change in any given week. One day you might be able to consume something that causes you no problem, and then the next time you have it, it causes you a problem. So that's why listening to our bodies is super important for keeping inflammation at bay. All right. What else have I got written down? Okay, so let's talk about the main things that are inflammatory. And you may have heard this before. You may think, oh, yeah, I know. But we need to sometimes hear something 10 times, 20 times. We all learn differently. We all get to a point when we're ready to change something at a different time frame, at a different, so you might have heard this from me a year ago, but you're ready to start doing it now. Judy, anything that's not carnivore, sadly. Yeah. Although avocado, you can do avocado, can't you? Because I can do avocado now. But it's about figuring out what doesn't work for you for sure. So here are the main things that causes inflammation in our body. Sugar. Sugar actually causes an inflammatory cascade in our body. It starts by giving us an insulin spike, which is a hormone, and then on it goes from there. It causes all sorts of problems in our body. Now, sugar is an easy thing to say, and it's an easy thing most people understand. Yeah, avocado for me. I had avocado with my eggs for breakfast, so that's okay for me. But as I said, I'll have an avocado, and then I'll wait a week maybe sometimes before I start another avocado or buy another avocado. So it's I don't have it daily, long term, to know whether or not it's okay for me long term. So sugar is tricky, and I'm not just talking about the bad sugars that we all know, the cakes, the candies, the biscuits, all the things. They're no good for us. They cause an inflammatory cascade. Tricky because they're also our emotional crutch some of the time. A lot of the time when we're struggling with chronic disease and all that kind of thing, we just want something to make us feel better in the moment, right? That little moment of and it gives us a dopamine hit. So we know when we eat that cake, we eat that biscuit, we eat that piece of chocolate, we're going to get this sudden little, it's okay, it's all right. But then it makes it worse and we have to have another one. And so it does this in our body. We're on this roller coaster ride of things that we need. Fruit sugars. Okay, some people can do fruit, whole fruit. Some people cannot. That's something you have to test out for yourself. There was a program many years ago called I Quit Sugar by Sarah Wilson, an Australian lady. In the beginning of her program, you gave up all sugar. If you wanted to quit sugar, you gave up all sugar, including the fruit sugar, because it was the quickest way to get through the detox symptoms and the addiction of sugar in general, is to just avoid any kind of sugar. I had somebody recently say on one of my videos that they're not a sweet tooth, they're a savory tooth. Now, sometimes you think you're not a sweet tooth, but a lot of our savory things, so you reach for a cracker, you reach for a sandwich, that kind of thing, that turns into glucose in the body. That is sugar in disguise. And we don't often think that. We think, oh, no, I don't eat the cake and the candy. But if you're loading up on bread and crackers and those sorts of carbs, rice, noodles, whatever it is, whatever your choice of poison is in that respect, that is still sugar. That stuff converts into sugar immediately in your body. So saying that you're a savory tooth and that sugar's not a problem for you, you've got to kind of switch your thinking and go, what am I actually eating? What turns into sugar in the body? And pretty much everything except meat turns into sugar in the body. Oh, and fat. Meats and fats do not turn into sugar unless you've overeaten them. Then your body will store them as glucose. So I'm humming this morning because I was out of macadamia milk and I made real milk in my coffee. I had a few sips. This is a prime example of sometimes I can have whole milk. I never have low-fat milk because it's too high in sugar. Whole milk, sometimes I can have it. But this morning, it's immediately caused me to have a phlegmy throat for whatever reason. As I said, I have it very rarely, but today it's caused it. So I had to run back out and make myself a herb tea to try and get rid of it. So I thought that was pretty funny, that a perfect example of it's causing me some kind of inflammation today that normally it wouldn't. So I'll probably avoid normal milk for quite some time now, and even though sometimes I can get away with it. But yeah, I need to get more macadamia milk because that doesn't cause me any problems. Anywho, and macadamia milk is high in, or macadamias in general, is a nut that is highest in omega-3s. So let's get on to more inflammatory versus anti-inflammatory foods. We know that sugar causes inflammation. Processed foods cause inflammation. Why though? Because they are loaded with seed oils. So seed oils, so our soybean oil, our sunflower seed oil, all of those oils, they cause inflammation in the body because they are really high in omega-6s. We all know that omega-3s are good for inflammation. They're anti-inflammatory. However, a lot of the items that we eat have got the wrong ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s. What is really great for our body is 1-to-1. 1 part omega-3 to 1 part omega-6. That's kind of what we should be aiming for to keep inflammation at bay in our body. However, most people now, sadly, are running at 1 to 25. 1 part omega-3 to 25 parts omega-6. And omega-6s, while we need them 1-to-1, they actually cause inflammation in large amounts. And the biggest source of this right now, as a human, as a species, would be those seed oils that is in everything. I've talked about this before, but I need to talk about it consistently because it, as I said earlier, you need to get to that point where you suddenly go, oh, I never thought to check my spices for sunflower oil. It's in there. My favorite spice mix, Masterfoods Tuscan seasoning, was one of the first things I looked at when I started understanding this. And I turned the label. It's like the first or second ingredient in that spice mix because it keeps it separate, I think, is what happens. But how long do you have a spice in your cupboard for? So by which time it's not only inflammatory, the omega-6s in it, the sunflower oil, it's rancid. You can't taste it because of all the other seasonings in it, but it's rancid by the time you finish that container of it because you only have a little bit at a time. So processed foods, anything that you haven't made from scratch. So if you want to make your own Tuscan seasoning, you look at all the herbs that are in it, you buy the individual herbs that do not contain anything but that herb, and you mix your own up. This is how you get around the inflammation. This is what our ancestors did, this kind of thing. They would put a bit of this in, a bit of basil, a bit of oregano, a bit of garlic. They did it from scratch. We do not. We are living in the world of convenience, and convenience is causing us inflammation, sadly. So, not just herbs and spices, it's in every processed food known to man because it makes it good on the palate and all this kind of thing. So processed foods, while it's tricky and hard, as I said, look at convenience. Margarine, full of trans fats, full of omega-6s, although they say they're not trans fats anymore, they do them differently, but they're full of omega-6s, which are inflammatory. Why do we reach for margarine? A, it's cheaper. Why is it cheaper? Because it's full of seed oils, not actual animal food. And B, convenience. It's easy and quick to spread. So anything that's convenient, you can bet your bottom dollar it's causing inflammation in your body. So what else have I got here? So sugar, seed oils, and processed foods, because the processed food is full of the seed oils. It's actually full of all the other things, the, numbers and the preservatives and all that sort of thing. Some can cause issues with people, some do not. So that's kind of an individual thing. It's kind of like fruit and veg. Some fruit and veg can cause inflammation in people, some do not. What causes me inflammation with fruit and veg is different to what causes you inflammation. So that's kind of something that you have to figure out as you go along. and seed oils. Okay. Believe it or not, well, you probably do. Gut health definitely contributes to inflammation in your body. And hydration. Hydration's a tricky one for me. Always has been. And my husband is super good at always drinking water. Me, I have to turn it into a job. I have to make it like a challenge. I have to consistently work on that, which is hard. It's hard, but that also contributes to inflammation, lack of hydration. Okay. Now, nuts and seeds, be careful with these. Some of them are really high in omega 6s, some of them are not. But if, like the products that you've got in your cupboard, you've had them too long, they can become rancid, which is also inflammatory to the body, which is tricky. Okay. So, the nut that's highest in omega 3s, which is why I use it, is the macadamia nut. Okay, it's got a higher ratio of omega 3s to omega 6s. All of the others kind of have the different ratio. It's more omega 6s than omega 3s. Although nuts and seeds have lots of other things in them that you require, vitamin E, this kind of thing that we need in our thyroid pathway, for example. And vitamin E is an antioxidant, so it lowers inflammation. However, if you're eating a lot of nuts and seeds, that's the other ones, and they're rancid because they've been in your cupboard for a long time, or it takes you a long time to eat them, or you've bought it in a packet of a trail mix, they could be really old and they don't taste like it because they're full of salts and they taste good. So you've got to be careful with those sorts of things. They can be an easy inflammatory item if you're not aware of what you're doing. Okay, so macadamia nuts, better. And flax seeds, but flax seeds, again, buy the whole flax seeds. These are also called linseeds seeds. Buy them whole, grind them yourself. I have a little $20 coffee grinder, spice grinder that I got from Kmart or somewhere like that. And you just, it's take a tablespoon of flax seeds, dump it in the grinder, hit it. That way you're getting it fresh every time you use them. Okay, so that's really important. Chia and hemp seeds are also pretty good on the anti-inflammatory scale. However, again, watch for rancidity, how long you've had them, how you've been storing them. Store them in the fridge maybe instead of in the cupboard, depending on your environment. Is it hot? Is it cold? There's so much to look at. Okay, so the other things with meat, even meat can be inflammatory because it's high in omega 6s because they've been grain fed. Okay, so if you can pick grass fed meats over grain fed, then you're going to have a higher range of omega 3s than you are omega 6s. So there's a lot of areas that you can change the inflammation level of how it's going to affect you. But my top tip is to start with the things that are easy for you. Because if you start with the hard things, you're not gonna go the distance. All right. So start with the easy things that you can afford, that you can do without too much of a problem. And once that becomes normal for you, then you add the next thing. Good, better, best. Just do one thing better today than you did yesterday. That's all that you can do to build those neural pathways. I talk about that a lot, of this is normal for you now. It is normal for me now. The rump steak medallions that I buy from Woolies are always grass-fed. If they're out of grass-fed, I don't actually buy the normal ones. They're just out of them. And I noticed that the other day when I was shopping. So that has become normal for me, that steak is grass-fed and that's just normal for me to buy. So pick the thing that you can do that's easy. Is it buying the eggs that are, although I'm not a fan of fortified with omega 3s, or they're free range grass fed, they're higher in omega 3s as well. So what can you do that's easy? Sometimes it's not food. Sometimes it's things that you're adding to your diet, to your body, that's inflammatory, different perfumes and skin products and things like that. Is that the easy place for you to start? But since this is about food, I want you to find the things that's easy for you to remove from your diet. Is it, oh, you know what? I start my day every day with bread, inflammatory. Can you start your day every day with scrambled eggs? right? I start my day pretty much every day with 2-3 scrambled eggs, depending on how hungry I think I am. Sometimes it's got a quarter of an avocado on the side. That's kind of normal for me now. That's like, I don't have to think about it. Okay. Stress is inflammatory to the body. I don't have to think about that. It's easy. I can do it on repeat. I can do it unless there's no eggs in the supermarket, which is often these days. And let me tell you, I enjoy every single bite of that egg, knowing how much I've paid for it. So, so change one thing at a time. And remember, the inflammation is what's going to worsen lipedema. It's what's going to worsen thyroid symptoms. And it's what's going to make you feel crappy. It's what's going to make your body talk to you in the way of symptoms like itchy things and itises. So itis on the end of anything, bursitis, tonsillitis, anything that's got the itis, that is inflammation of whatever that thing is, right? Inflammation of the bursa is bursitis. Inflammation of the tonsils is tonsillitis. So if you have any kind of itises that you list in your symptomology or your diseases or syndromes or whatever, inflammation is your priority. It's not getting compressions. It's not how do I afford, it's not how do I afford, surgeries, things like that. Your first port of call, if you have anything obvious that is inflammation on your body, is inflammation. It's getting rid of the seed oils. It is having more omega-3s than omega-6s. It is reducing anything that you think is inflammatory to you specifically. Okay. If you eat a lettuce and you never feel good after a particular salad you make at any given time, 27% of people are intolerant to lettuce at any given point in time. They've done studies on this. So just because you think it's healthy does not mean it's not causing inflammation for you personally. So you need to start checking in with your body and go, God, every time I eat that salad, I get a itchy hand, or, I've talked about this before. If I have too much in the way of green leafies at the moment, or still over the last year or so, I get peeling skin on my hand. It took me a really long time to figure it out. But every time I sort of go, I'm just going to have a few keto items because I miss my veg, I miss my this, that, I miss my salads, coriander, all the things. You may not be a coriander fan, but I really am. I get a peeling hand, which is really weird, but it's a form of inflammation. My body is not ready for that yet, which is why then I go back to predominantly 80% of the time I'm carnivore. The rest of the time, my body seems to cope with what it needs to cope with. So I'm forever testing things and trying things, which is what you have to do for your body. But lowering the inflammation in your body, let me just get rid of this person. There we go. Alrighty. You get the odd comment that's just not in here, so that's all right. And we will move that person. Okay, done. All right. So that's all I want you to do this week. Good, better, best. What can you do that is just that little bit better than you did yesterday? Can you look at some of the things in your cupboard? Can you look at some of the things in your fridge? And even if it's having one meal a day that doesn't have processed foods in it, doesn't have convenience in it, then great, awesome. Then that could become a habit for you. Okay, so just one thing better today than you did yesterday. Right, that's it for me. We're off to do another anti-inflammatory thing, and that is walking. As we do every day. So I hope you have an amazing week full of anti-inflammatory foods. If you have any questions about what you're eating that you are not sure if it's inflammatory or not, pop it in the comments. I will come back to you. Sometimes I do a whole video on questions from you guys. So feel free to put something in that you want me to talk about specifically, and I will, because I'm here to help. I'm here to share, and as we all should be. All right. Have a good week, and I will see you all next Sunday. Bye.